Well, good morning, and I think that we were really honored to have two great keynote speakers. So let's give another hand to both Ray Connor and Secretary Blank. I'm Irene Hirano Inouye, the President of the U.S. Japan Council, and let me add my welcome to that of our Chairman, Tom Eno, to all of you for having joined us this morning and for the amazing group of individuals who are here who represent the leadership of the business sector, the government sector, and the civil society sector. As you have heard, this is the U.S. Japan Council's third annual conference, and we were so pleased to be able to hold the first two meetings in Washington, D.C., but certainly equally pleased to be able to come to Seattle and to be in a place that is really so much of the heart of our entrepreneurism, of new technology, and of the business sector, but also the fact that Seattle and the Pacific Northwest has been the history of so much of our Japanese American experience, a place where so many Japanese Americans settled and have really contributed to the Seattle and the Pacific Northwest. So we're really pleased to be here. We have a full day, and we've really, as I've said, been honored to have two great speakers, and we will continue the day with other great speakers. In a room like this, it's hard. We could go around and introduce everybody, but let me just take a few moments to acknowledge a few of our special guests. So at lunch, we will hear from Mr. Takeshi Ninami, the President and CEO of Lawson's, and I'd like to ask him to stand. You heard acknowledged someone who is a member of the U.S. Japan Council Board, but also has served as the Secretary of Commerce and Transportation, Norman Mineta. Norman, if you could stand. We have a member of the Japanese Parliament who will be speaking to the group later this afternoon, a parliamentarian, Taro Kono, if he's here, if he would stand. One of the great partners with the U.S. Japan Council and really of the Japanese American community has been Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And through their support, one of the keynote programs that the U.S. Japan Council has the honor of administering is the Japanese American Leadership Delegation. And there have been 12 of the delegations that have traveled to Japan that takes leaders of the Japanese American communities throughout the country and introduces them to leaders in Japan. And the ministry has been a stalwart supporter of that, and also has, through the Consuls General in the 17 locations in the United States, built a very strong relationship with the Japanese American community. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs will be holding actually their heads of missions meeting that will coincide with our conference. And so we have many consuls general who have joined us for this conference, but who will be here in Seattle, as well as many of the officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And speaking to the group later this afternoon, but I want to acknowledge him, is the Director General of North American Affairs, the former Consul General in Los Angeles, Mr. Junichi Ihara. I want to especially acknowledge, and although we have other Consuls General here, that Consul General Ota, who is the Consul General here in Seattle, worked with us from the very beginning. So when we made the decision to come to Seattle, he was the first to step up and say that he would support and work with us, and the Consul General and his staff have been a very integral part of the planning from day one. So Consul General Ota, if you would stand and be acknowledged. And I want to thank many of the other Consuls General who are here with us this morning as well. Another partner in our Japanese American Leadership Delegation, and also with many, many programs throughout the United States and really throughout the globe, is the Japan Foundation. And the Center for Global Partnership, which focuses on U.S. and Japan programs, has been especially a partner. So from 2002 to 2010, they were co-sponsors of our Japanese American Leadership Delegation Program. They have continued to support that through an annual symposium that we do each year when the delegations go to Japan. And I'm extremely pleased that Mr. Akio Nomura, who's the executive director from Tokyo of Japan Foundation CGP, is with us. And Mr. Nomura, if you would stand and be acknowledged. And we have a number of the Japan Foundation CGP staff who are here from their New York office, the Los Angeles office, and also from their Tokyo office. So it's great to have them here as well. I want to pay particular thanks to the Seattle Host Committee. This conference would not have been done although the U.S. Japan Council has a small but mighty staff. It's impossible to do an event like this without a really strong core of individuals here in the host town. So I'd like to acknowledge Jill Nishi, who was the chair of the Seattle Host Committee. It was actually her idea and invitation to bring the conference to Seattle. And I'd like to ask the members of the host committee to please stand. They have worked for over a year. They've had regular calls, so I want to really thank them, because they are all leaders in their own right here in Seattle and across the country, really accomplished professionals, and they stepped up and have been a real true partner. Let me also, and you met Tom Eno, our chairman, but we are so fortunate to have a very illustrious group of board of directors, a board of counselors. The U.S. Japan Council also created a U.S. Japan Council Japan entity, which was officially incorporated this year and is a tax-exempt organization. And we also have a board of directors of our U.S. Japan Council Japan entity. And so I'd like to ask all of our board members to please stand and be acknowledged. They're scattered throughout the room. A list of them is in your program. When the U.S. Japan Council was formed in 2009, although we're a young organization, it really brought together so many people who believed that the U.S.-Japan relationship was important, was critical, and at that time the common phrase was Japan passing. And I think so many of us believe that that was not the case, had never been the case, and should not be the case going forward. And so came together to form the council, bringing together many Japanese American leaders who in their own communities and in their own professions had been contributing to the building of that very strong relationship. And so we have a lot of our council members who are here. It's an organization that has continued to grow over the past 3 years, and one I think that we see through this meeting and the meetings we've had before, a real dynamism of the U.S.-Japan relationship. And we are dedicated, our mission is to create a strong people-to-people relationship at the government level, at the business level, and at the civil society level. And this meeting has been put together as a way to highlight and to look at how our U.S.-Japan relationship is continuing to address challenges in those 3 sectors, and how through a more innovative and a entrepreneurial approach that we can ensure that the relationship remains strong and vibrant. And as I have gone back and forth to Japan, and as I divide my time in not only in Washington, D.C., Hawaii, but in other parts of the country, I see the real depth of the relationship. We heard this morning as Mr. Kano was talking about Boeing. That's one of so many companies that have a long-standing relationship with Japan. But we also see new companies, small to mid-sized companies, large companies, that see that it's an investment and a relationship that is mutually beneficial. So we have structured this conference to not only feature some very significant keynote speakers, but also in your program you see the many, many speakers that will be participating in the panels. And one of the ways that we wanted this conference to be different from the past two, and this came from the Seattle Host Committee, is a conference that was much more interactive. So the sessions that you'll be participating in are really a dialogue. It's not a one-way conversation. And we know that so many of the participants here are real experts in your field. And so we look forward to this being an opportunity for us to look at the future, to see how we can continue to build upon the relationship and look at new areas of growth for the U.S.-Japan relationship. So you will see that we have workshops that are focused on the NPO-NGO sector. The U.S. Japan Council, like so many organizations in the United States, after March 11th, made a commitment to raise funds and to support the NPO-NGO sector in Japan. The civil society is not is structured in the same way that it is here in the United States. But over the past year and a half, I have met the most incredible leaders that are really ensuring that the sector in Japan grows. Some of them are here with us for this conference. And so we have set aside a number of workshops that will address that sector. We also will today, as a kind of special feature, look at, as the Secretary said, an opportunity for the new innovation and new businesses that will drive the Tohoku region, the area that was affected by the tsunami and earthquake. So through a Tomodachi Tohoku Challenge, we have brought together 3 finalists who created business plans and have businesses to help revitalize a part of the Tohoku region. And so there is a workshop this morning that the 3 finalists will present their plans, and a very distinguished group of individuals from the business sector that will judge them, and then we will bring the winner here at lunch to do a brief presentation of their business plan. But it is a sector that certainly has driven the U.S. economy, and one that certainly historically in Japan that entrepreneurs drove much of the early development of business sector, and one that we do believe is an important part of the future of the region in Japan that was affected. So we look forward to that luncheon opportunity. You might wonder why we have a session on mental health, something that might seem unusual from the standpoint of an organization like this. But as we have looked at and worked with organizations that are involved in the recovery and the rebuilding, certainly health and mental health services and the opportunity for Japanese and U.S. organizations and institutions to work together is something that we see as another important part of the future relationship. And finally, we have a session on biomedical, which is another area that we see will help drive a stronger economic relationship, as well as a lot of new technologies and innovation that is happening. So we hope that the way in which we structured the conference provides a way to look at what is happening in terms of U.S.-Japan, but also to look at how we can ensure that through new industry collaborations, through new organizational collaborations, and through the work between our 2 governments, that we will continue to ensure very strong partnerships. I want to, before we close this session and go on to the various topics, I want to again thank American Airlines for being our platinum sponsor. They've had a long relationship with us from the very, very beginning, and we're grateful for the fact that Mike is here, that Mr. Horton, who's a member of our board, and so many of the American Airlines staff are here. And also I want to acknowledge Dr. Paul Terasaki, who is one of the founders of this organization, who through their family foundation, the Terasaki Family Foundation, has been a real strong supporter and a backbone for the work that we do. Unfortunately, he was unable to join us this weekend, but he is a platinum sponsor along with American Airlines. You see in your program the many, many companies that supported very generously to make this conference happen. And our title sponsors, of course, you've heard from Mr. Connor of Boeing, but also Mitsubishi Corporation, which has been another strong supporter as a title sponsor, Hitachi Corporation. We have executives here from Hitachi, Bank of Tokyo, Mitsubishi UFJ, and also Lockheed Martin, and many of the other sponsors who are here, and I want to personally thank them again. Without their support, the Council would not be able to do the work that we have been able to accomplish over the past 3 years. We have also, as a part of the work of the Council and this conference, a program called the Emerging Leaders Program. And since we did our first conference, each year we select 10 emerging leaders who are Japanese Americans who are interested in becoming more engaged in the U.S.-Japan relationship. This year we selected 10. We had a very, very strong number that applied, so it was very hard to pick. But these are really the future, we believe, are the future of not only our Japanese American community, but the relationship. We also have alumni who participated in the last 2 years who have also paid their own way to come. So I want to ask the emerging leaders, the current class, to stand up, and our alumni group. They are here. They had a training yesterday, and they're part of the vibrancy of this organization. So if I could ask them to stand. So please be sure, in my opening remarks to them yesterday, I said, so your job is to network with as many people as you can over the course of the next couple of days. But I think you'll see by their names in the program that there's really a very dynamic group. And also let me thank our staff who has worked tirelessly. And you'll see them throughout the day. They're also listed in the program, and as I said in the beginning, it's a small staff, but we now have staff located in Washington, D.C., our headquarters, in Los Angeles, where we have an office, in San Francisco, and in Tokyo. So through our Tomodachi initiative, we have staff that are placed at the U.S. Embassy working on Tomodachi, as well as we have an office donated by GE. And you'll hear more about our Tomodachi initiative this afternoon. But let me especially thank Anna Cabo, Angela Randa, Kaz Amaniwa, and Saki Atakasu for their leadership on this conference. And if you'll give them a big hand, as well as our entire staff. So please refer to your programs. The wonderful thing about this conference, as the Senator said, is the great turnout. But we planned this in this beautiful hotel with a certain capacity, which we have oversubscribed. So I apologize, we're very tight in here. But that also means that the various sessions are going to be very tight. And so I don't want to stampede out the room, but I encourage you, if there are certain sessions that you absolutely want to go to, that you try to do that when we break, because it is going to be very tight. And if you can't get into the one that you hope to, there are other sessions as well. So as you note in your program, this morning's sessions will focus on education, on mental health, on new technology, and also the Tomodachi Tohoku Challenge, which is part of our entrepreneurship track. We are actually a few minutes ahead of schedule, so you have time to grab a cup of coffee, to visit, and the sessions will start promptly at 10:45, and then after the topic sessions are finished, then we will come back to this room for our luncheon plenary. And then, of course, we have our afternoon sessions that are scheduled as well, which will then be followed by a closing plenary. So we have a full day of activities. I just want to, before we close, make one other shout out. And we heard from the Secretary about the impact and the very generous support by the government of Japan towards the marine debris. Certainly NOAA, who is represented here and is part of the Secretary's agency, has done a great deal. But we have friends from Alaska who have been great partners to the U.S. Japan Council. Many of them have joined us, the Alaska Federation of Natives, Sea Alaska, and they stepped up when the U.S. Japan Council was creating an earthquake relief fund to contribute to that. Alaska has its own history of ties with Japan and with the Japanese American community. Our good friend was Senator Ted Stevens, and his widow Catherine Stevens is here. She's been a supporter of the U.S. Japan Council from the beginning, has brought Alaska friends to the Council, and they're there, and I just want to thank them for joining us and being a part of the U.S. Japan Council. So please meet them. So with that, we will adjourn the morning session, and I, as I said, encourage you to go to the various topic discussions. So thank you again very much.